Hey guys, what's up? It's Kevin for the win, and we're back for another edition of Diablo III. Today on the channel, we are taking a look at the Immortal King's Call set armor for the Barbarian Class. Probably one of the armors that is often going to get overlooked in Season 26 of Diablo III, despite the fact that it is significantly powerful. So without further ado, here it is, Immortal King's Call. 2-piece bonus, Call the Ancients, last until they die. 4-piece bonus, reduce the cooldown of reduce cooldown of Wrath of the Berserker and Call of the Ancients by 3 seconds for every 10 Fury you spend with an attack. 6-piece bonus, while both Wrath of the Berserker and Call of the Ancients are active, you deal 4,000% increased damage. So, we're going to be using this with the Hammer of the Ancients. So, Call of the Ancients, we're going to be using Fury of the Ancients. Call of the Ancients gains the effect of the Ancients' Fury Ring. As you can see here, we're mostly using a full set of Immortal Kings here. Actually, we are using a full set. To help augment the power, we're using Conventional Elements Ring, the Compass Rose, in conjunction with the Traveler's Pledge. While moving, damage take is reduced up to 50%. While standing still, damage is increased by up to 100%. So that will help tremendously. We are using the Little Rogue and the Slandler weapons. 2-piece every time you spend primary resources, gain 6% increased attack speed, damage, and armor for 5 seconds. This effect stacks up to 5 times. We're going to abuse this with the Hammer of the Ancients ability here. We're going to be using Bracers of the First Men. Hammer of the Ancients attacks 50% faster and deals 451% increased damage. You must run this Bracers, guys, because if not, you're not going to see the desired results with this particular build. And as you can see here, again, the Traveler's Pledge, Endless Walk. So, again, while moving, damage taken is reduced up to 50%. While standing still, you deal 100% increased damage. For the skills, Wrath of the Berserker, Insanity is the way you want to go. Next up, Hammer the Ancients, Smash. You definitely want to run this for them. Threatening Shout, Falter. We want Battle Rage, Bloodshed. We want Furious Charge, Merciless Assault to just get some distance between enemies. Then from there, for the passives, we have Ruthless, Nerves of Steel, Rampage. There will be a link in the description in case I went too quickly for anybody. In the Kanai's Cube, the Gravel of Judgment, you must run that. Mortrix Brace, you must run that. And Abandonite, just to help get things a little bit more in terms of damage reduction. Because whenever we Fierce Charge, we'll get a little bit more tanky, which helps significantly with this build as you're climbing higher up into the Grey Rist. This is what my Paragon looks like. If you're playing non-seasonal character, obviously it's not going to reflect that. Okay, so there you have it. That's where all my Paragon and points are lied. For the follower, I would recommend Broken Crown, Flavor of Time here, Nemesis Bracers. Everything else is nice to have, but the real free things you want are Broken Crown, Flavor of Time, Nemesis Bracers. For the purpose of this demonstration, we are going to do a greater of 60, and we're going to do a greater of 70 and a greater of 80. That way I can show you how the armor performs between Torment 13 through Torment 16 difficulty. So it's going to be pretty strong, pretty powerful, and we're going to clear through things. There's a couple things that you need to do in terms of getting the most out of this particular armor. So you're going to have to pay attention to what you see on screen to get the most out of it. First thing you want to do when you get into the Greater Rift is cast your Wrath of the Berserker. Then from there, you want to eventually, when they give you a second to breed, activate your Call of the Ancients. And then from there, what you're going to want to do is constantly drop your hammer down frequently towards enemy targets. So I'm on a pretty low Greater Rift, so it took me a while before I actually popped my Call of the Ancients. But basically, that's all you're going to be doing is charging into enemies with Fierce Charge and then dropping your hammer tremendously on various targets. Now, basically what you want to do with Hammer of the Ancients is pretty much kind of drop the hammer down so many times like if it's Pac-Man. On the lower Greater Rifts, you're not going to have to require dropping the hammer so many times because the enemies are going to be significantly weak, especially if you have optimized this armor properly. But basically what you want to do is always try to get your Wrath of the Berserker back up and your Call of the Ancients. The good thing is that the cooldown reduction on this particular armor is going to be pretty high, which will allow you most of the time to constantly be going back into Wrath of the Berserker and the Call of the Ancients. So in terms of optimization, what should you be doing with this armor? Well, first and foremost, cooldown reduction, despite the fact we're not using Captain Crimson, is very important. So I would recommend getting maximum rolls of cooldown reduction wherever possible. On most of the armor, 8.0% should be potentially the highest that you can get. On some rings, you could get 10% cooldown reduction, but definitely look into wherever you could get cooldown reduction and put it in this armor, because the more times you can constantly go back into Wrath of the Berserker, the better it is going to be for you long-term in dropping the hammer down on all enemies that are foolish enough to oppose you, as well as being able to keep resummoning the Call of the Ancients so that they're never basically a moment where you're not having your pets on screen with you helping you out. Believe it or not, this is actually a pet build for the Barbarian in a very clever type of way. Now, in terms of further optimization, I would recommend resource cost reduction wherever possible. The reason for that is you are going to be dropping down the hammer quite a bit, which means you will potentially have a situation where you're burning through your mana, or not your mana, but basically your fury way too quickly. So this is a way to kind of mitigate it so that you're never truly losing anything like you see here, particularly on this build. Subsequently from there, on your helm I would recommend crit hit chance 6.0%. On your gloves I would recommend crit hit chance 6.0%, crit hit damage 50%, attack speed at least 6.0%, but preferably the higher up of attack speed, the better it will long term, because you're going to be dropping the hammer so fast down, particularly when you see us get to greater 70. You're going to be like, wow, I should do that. You can, if you follow the advice in this particular guide. From there, obviously, I would recommend anywhere that you can buff Hammer of the Ancients to 15%. Definitely do so. Anywhere where you can buff the Call of the Ancients to 15% without taking away from something else, definitely do so, because it's going to work in your benefit tremendously to be able to buff that type of stuff up. Next from there, I would recommend, honestly, you need the highest maximum rolls of strength. So look at your armor, see if you can get the highest stat roll. It might take you a while playing around with the armor slots and everything of sort to get exactly what you need. Remember, Diablo III is a journey. So enjoy the journey. It's not so much about racing to the end, but about the stuff that you experienced along the way. If you're looking for a fast route, this is not the game that you should be playing, because Diablo III is not really designed for that, particularly if you're playing non-CISO character. If you're playing CISO character, people rush for things and still make mistakes, but, you know, it's all part of the learning process, so to speak. Alright, let's get these gems leveled up. In terms of gems, what should you be using on this armor? I recommend a Stoic Alteration, because you want to be a little bit more tanky. I recommend Bane of the Stricken, because obviously you're going to be dropping down the hammer multiple times on enemy, and a Bane of Trap, because it's arguably one of the best gems that you could use in here. If you don't want to run any of those things in particular, or like let's say you want to run Enforcer, because I am running an Enforcer gem here, definitely could run Enforcer over E-Stoic. You got to play around with it and see what works best with you. But I think E-Stoic, Bane of the Stricken, and Bane of the Trap are going to work tremendously here. And if you want, take out E-Stoic for Enforcer to see if you get a little bit more for the Call of Ancients. But remember, Call of Ancients are just there to help. It's the Hammer and the Ancients that's really going to be doing everything for you. Case in point here, get into the Greater Rift. First thing you see that we do again is cast our Wrath of the Berserker, then cast our Call of the Ancients, then we start throwing down the hammer much more quickly. The higher up in the Greater Rifts you go, the more you're going to have to pretend that you grab the hammer from Super Smash Bros. And are just attacking rapidly, non-stop, because that's basically what this particular armor does. Obviously, whenever you see Call of the Ancients is on cooldown, resummon it. Wrath of the Berserker, same thing as well. And you should do generally well with this particular armor. Now, in terms of leaderboard placement, where would Hammer of the Ancients, Immortal King's Call be? Well, this armor in general is kind of a, I don't want to say A tier, because it's definitely not, although it can clear Greater Rift 130s in the right capable player's hand. I would say in particular, this is going to be one of those upper B tier to lower A tier type of armors. In terms of Echoing Nightmare, this is not going to do very well for it. The reason for that is because in Echoing Nightmare, you're attacking multiple targets at multiple times that have AoE effects like explosions going on. The problem with Hammer of the Ancients is the more times you drop in that hammer, you are killing things very recklessly, to the point that you're going to have a whole bunch of things exploding around you at the same time, and there's going to be nowhere for you to dodge out of. And you may try to use your Furious Charge, but you're not going to be able to dodge out, and you're going to die. So this is very weak in terms of Echoing Nightmare pushing. It is very strong for Greater Rift pushing, though. And it should get you into Greater Rift 130s if you have proper optimization and everything of the sort. Unfortunately, though, this is kind of be one of those seasons where I think Hammer the Ancient Immortal King's Call builds are probably not going to see the light of day. The set bonuses to Raycore armor in particular make that armor a better option in terms of pushing, because you don't have to be so in your face to attack enemies. Subsequently, also, you have to figure out that when it comes to a Barbarian, most Diablo III players only think about one particular armor set more than anything, and that being the Wrath of the Waste set armor, which we covered 2 weeks ago, in which it pretty much did Spin to Win. So Spin to Win still is going to be high leaderboard placement, and also Spin to Win, Wrath of the Waste, probably the best armor for the Barbarian class to use on Echoing Nightmare. Because although the Raycore set armor is very good and can get pretty high up there, it does still suffer from a lack of mobility in trying to handle so many AoE effects going off on screen. Case in point here, we have a few AoE effects going off on this particular map, and we still are going to have to play it cautiously. In Echoing Nightmare, you don't have the type of way to dodge out of so many different instances, so that's why I'm saying it's probably not going to perform as well. It's probably not going to see that much play, if any play, and I'd be surprised if it sees upper level play on anything, just because of how there's so many better options. Even Savage's one. The only thing we could say about the Barbarian armor is that there's not one armor now, thanks to everything in the Raycore set armor that's been reworked, that is a bad armor. They all perform significantly well. It's just still that Wrath of the Waste and the Horde of the 90 Savages set armor, and I guess to a lesser set Raycore now, all perform significantly better than Immortal King's Call, just in terms of clear times and being able to handle large waves and waves and waves of enemies. So we got a lot of loot here. Let's identify some of it and drop it. So in case you don't already know this, I do have an alternate platform that we've been using as well for Diablo content, that being our Twitch channel, Twitch TV/Dreadscape Gaming. From time to time, I play Diablo 3 Season there. I want to play at some point Diablo 2 Ladder, and just unfortunately haven't had the time to play the ladder as of yet, because there's just so much other things I've been trying to get out to you guys, like the Diablo 3 videos, as well as a couple of things I've been doing in terms of Twitch streaming for the last couple of days, trying to reach the road to affiliate, so that's why. Alright, let's look at the clear time here. Grey Rift 70, 3 minutes and 16-second clear time. Alright guys, that's going to do it for today's video. I am not going to do Greater Rift 80 because there's not going to be a significant difference compared to what you're seeing concurrently on screen. So that's going to do it for me today. As always, a like on this video is greatly appreciated. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, definitely consider doing so, as it helps the channel grow. And I will see you for the next Diablo 3 video. Till next time, guys.